Billy Preston with Nothing from Nothing.
Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you wanna be with me. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you wanna be with me. Yeah, yeah, that's right, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah. I'm not trying to be your hero, 'cause that zero is too cold for me. I'm not trying to be your highness, 'cause that minus is too low to see. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing, and I'm not stuffing, believe you me. Don't you remember I told you I'm a soldier in the war on poverty? Yes, I am. Hey, yeah, 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 baby. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing, isn't that right? You got to have something if you want to be with me, oh baby. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You got to have something if you want to be with me. Yeah, baby. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, oh baby. You gotta have something if you want to be with me. You got to bring me something, girl, if you want to be with me. You got to know how to party. You got to know how to party. You got to know how to party, children, if you want to be with me.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting if you email me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Be sure and check out our Patreon. Sudden rise in the Patreon sponsorships, man. We have a bunch of people signing up to Patreon all of a sudden. So thank you for that. But that's the best place, one-stop shop to get all the shows and the free content we put on Patreon, the exclusive content we put on Patreon. And you want to ask me questions and stuff like that, I'll respond there for sure. Okay. We got to cut back on these messages, guys. Okay. These texts and messages and stuff like that. I tell you, like every time I've ever given like a guest or anybody related to the show stuff, the reporting stuff, my cell phone number, I've always regretted it. I can't think of one time I ever regretted it. But anyway, what are you going to do? So everyone's got to need. I need my attention constantly. Whether it's negative attention or positive attention. Friday nights, we do a live show every Friday night at Spreaker.com. You go to Spreaker.com, sign up for free. As a chat room, you get an email notification whenever we put up new content. And I play repeats there every single night of the week. I had a guest just today telling me that he was searching Ed Opperman Report, and he couldn't find the shows. The shows weren't coming up on Google. The only platform he found the show was on something called Geezer, and that you can only listen for 30 seconds. So we're probably taking another pounding there. So keep in contact with us. And what we're doing here, check out Patreon, and also sign up to there at Spreaker.com. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Billy Preston, that's from the first episode ever of Saturday Night Live, which I went back and I watched the first episode this week, man. Wow, that show was great, man, when it first came out. You know, what happened? You know, like, what happened to creativity, man? It's just all gone. So, got 2 good shows for you tonight, okay, coming up after this. Coming up. I said coming up so many times, you know, in my life. If I had a nickel for every time I've said coming up, goodbye a dime. AJ Weberman comes back, okay? And, oh, man, what a jam-packed of content that was, man. I think this is probably my most relaxed interview with AJ, because you got to remember, he was sort of like my boss. You know, AJ was, you know, high up the chain there. When I was just a kid. And so he sought me out and he wanted to talk to me. And I guess he wanted to talk about the new Bob Dylan movie, which, of course, infuriates him. And I have very little interest in that. But we got into so much, man. Bernie Kerik, Lawrence Ray, Larry Ray. And we got into George Soros and Allen Ginsberg, Yoko Ono, and Dick Gregory and MLK murders and all kind of stuff, man. And the whole big thing with Jerry Hemming, man. His experience there with the suing E. Howard Hunt, the Watergate burglars, and JFK research. Just great content from AJ. It's always great to have him on the show. And then I just finished taping with the fellow about his book. I got the book right here. Let me read the title. Okay. It says, I Do Not Consent. Summarizing, simplifying the sovereign citizen ideology. And he has a YouTube channel called Sovereign Citizens Situations. And I tell you, the interview was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. At one point, I was worried that this guy might actually have been a proponent of the sovereign citizen movement, but it wasn't. He's still, he was like making fun of it. So we had a lot of fun there, man. I'd say the first time I came into contact with the sovereign citizen stuff, I used to, in Vegas, I used to do a lot of work for this lawyer, Bucky. And and he would tell me, Ed, get down to meet me at the courthouse tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We got an arraignment, and we're going to have to interview the client there. And get there at 9 o'clock because I want to be in and out. I got a busy day tomorrow. Got to be in and out of court. And, you know, if you go to court, if you're one of these juiced-in lawyers, you know, the judge takes a case right away. So you can get in and out. So I'd get there at 9 a.m., and good old Bucky doesn't stroll until 11:45, okay, right before lunch. And he gets in and out. He's in and out, but I'm there for 4 hours, you know, waiting around for him. And he'd come in all hungover, and then we'd have to go get Bloody Marys and stuff like that, go to breakfast. But what do you call it? So, you know, I'm sitting there all day long, sitting through these arraignments, and this guy who was at the Sunset Park in Las Vegas eating a meal with a knife and fork, and the cops arrest him for having his knife. You know, it was too large to have out in public, you know. And the judge was telling this guy over and over and over, just give us your plea. Do you want us to appoint you an attorney? And the guy was just going on and on with this gibberish, this sovereign citizen gibberish about jurisdiction and admiralty law and all this kind of stuff. And the guy could have walked out that day, man, but instead they held him on a psych hold. And then my first contact with the Moors, which is a whole new thing. It's the same, pretty much the same spiel. But these guys got fez hats and stuff. And they all, their name, they changed their name to either Bay or L, you know, at the end of their name. And so the first time I saw that was at that competency hearing for Maddie, where I had to sit there all day long. And that competency court, talk about it all the time, had a traumatic effect on me. Spent a lot of time in court, man. That one day, watching all these poor, mentally struggling people, man, just struggling with their sanity, one after another, man. Talking about, I'll never forget the guy. The judge asked the guy, said, when the doctor came to talk to you, why didn't you do the interview with the doctor for your competency hearing? And he goes, oh, no, I did. I talked to him after he left. I talked to him through the mirror on the wall. You know? Oh, boy. Just brutal, man. Just brutal. So I interviewed that fellow there about the sovereign citizen movement, and great content there. We got into a lot of stuff about a lot of things you'll hear you'll hear from podcasters and stuff too, man. There's stuff about the corporation, United States Corporation, and about the all caps name and the birth certificate, being traded on the stock market. We get into all that stuff. So it turned out to be a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. So check that out too as well. Taping this week, I got a bunch of good stuff I'm taping this week, man. One is there's a new book out about the Todd killings. Remember that the Pied Piper of Tucson, and they did have that movie about it with the Thomas. Forget the John boy from the Waltons, Richard Thomas. He plays a part in this movie about this serial killer down there in Tucson. It's based on a true story, and this is the guy escaped from prison at one point too. I think. I might be getting confused. I got a lot of stuff coming up this week. Guess who I'm back in touch with? Okay. That FBI agent who was in charge of the anthrax investigation. We're going to have him come back and talk about 9/11 and the Saudis' involvement in 9/11. That's kind of how all this came together with AJ this week and the FBI agent there. Because I was contacted by a documentary filmmaker who's making a film about the anthrax attacks in 2001, and they wanted me to get a hold of Lampert and put him in touch with them. And I said, hey, AJ was into that thing too. I talked to AJ. Oh yeah, sure. So I'm working on that too behind the scenes. It'll be coming out soon. Actually, I have no idea when it's coming out. Oh, get this! I found out. Because I've been talking about Bernie Kerik, last week, and about how he is in that photo with Kash Patel, the new FBI director, and here he is, Kash Patel, with this convicted felon who was a January 6th contributor there, paid $50,000 for the war room. I thought Bernie Kerik was deported. He was working in Saudi Arabia doing security for a hospital for the healthcare system in Saudi Arabia. It was a big job. And they were taking medical information and using it to blackmail people for these big shots up in the Saudi government, the royal family, whatever, going on over there. Who the hell knows? So on 9/11, this guy has all this prior skullduggery going on with the Saudis. And now he's investigating 9/11. He's the top cop in New York. What the hell? How did that... how did that... miss everybody's radar? Huh? Explain that to me. Oh, God. Let me find this thing here, man. Oh, there it is. Good. Let me see how we're doing on time. Good. Doing very good. Okay. I think I want to get right into it because I think this is the most important thing going on this week. And everyone's missing the point, as usual, Now, this Marco Rubio, is in Saudi Arabia right now. They're negotiating over Ukraine. He's negotiating with the Russians. It's a proxy. Can it be more obvious that this is a 100% proxy war at this point here? Now, even where things stand right now, just by Trump pulling out the mercenaries, the U.S. mercenaries that are there, the CIA they're training that are there, that doesn't bode well for the Ukrainians. But openly, he's basically just given over the whole country to Putin, And Marco Rubio, you just see him sitting there. He's so over his head. This guy has no international experience whatsoever. Nothing. Some South American stuff, but nothing for real. To be sitting with some of the highest people in the Russian government there. He's negotiating with them all by himself, It's pathetic. But who's there, sitting there and part of this negotiation, okay? But this should be the main story of this week, man. Dmitry Rybolovlev, right? Rybolovlev. Rybolovlev, okay? I'm going to say it once. I'll call him Dmitry from now on. Why would Mr. Putin, okay, he's got his top people there. Why would he, who is this Dmitry Rybolovlev, right? Well, he made his money through fertilizer. Because the guy's a fertilizer guy. When Putin was carving up the country, there were all the industries. He gave it to this guy here. He gave the fertilizer industry to this fellow, right? Then he got out of the fertilizer business. Had some kind of little problem, you know, going to kill one of his partners. Got out of that. Don't worry about that. And now what he does now is he's an art collector and an art dealer. So his two main areas of expertise are fertilizer and art. What? Not Ukraine. Okay, not Ukraine, and not Ukraine negotiations. So what the hell is this guy doing in that room? He's got less business being in that room than Marco Rubio has. Okay, but okay, Dmitry's in the room, negotiating with his red tie, sitting in the back, but he's there. Okay, there is no reason on the face of the earth for this guy to be in that room. As far as Ukraine expertise, they're not talking about art. They're not talking about fertilizer. They're talking about Ukraine pullouts and settlements, carving up Ukraine. So what is his connection to all this? Well, let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you. Because way back around 2004, there was this fellow that was going through a bankruptcy, right? And he owned this big piece of property there in Palm Beach. And what was it? It has a fancy name. Let me see if I can find it. The Mansion of Peace, I think it's called. Something like that. I got so much notes here. Maison de l'Amitié, right, which means the house of friendship in French. Okay, and you look at this big, huge piece of property. So the guy who owned it was going through some kind of shady bankruptcy transaction, right? And in 2004, who was it that wanted to pick up this property, which was being financed by J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank, right? And all these were the parties involved in this bankruptcy sale, right? So who wanted that property? Mr. Trump wanted that property, and Mr. Jeffrey Epstein wanted that property. Many people point to this and say that it was that property deal that caused the falling out between Trump and Epstein, just by speculation, because they were in competition and it drove up the price of the property. Ultimately, Trump wound up getting the property for about $50 million, and then sold it to Dmitry, Rybolovlev, right, for $90 million. So he made a quick. And when Trump was on the verge of bankruptcy himself, and because he owed all that money to Deutsche Bank, they were part of the deal. Deutsche Bank got paid off. Trump avoided bankruptcy. And then Dmitry, okay, I don't know what he did with this property, if he lived there or what, but he sells it shortly after for like $108 million. Okay, so I don't know if it was shortly after. I don't know when he sold it, but he didn't make a lot of profit on the sale of that property there. Okay, so the connection to this is Epstein. Okay, Putin sent Mr. Dmitry over there to this room here, saying, "Look at this is our guy from Palm Beach. He lives 5 miles from Mar-a-Lago, lives even closer to Epstein. You all three of you are involved in this transaction here. He knows where the bodies are buried, Mr. Trump, and we're sticking it right in your face." Now, some people are talking about the Trump made this profit, the $50 million profit, but that's not a negotiating chip. The negotiating chip in there is the Epstein juice. That's what's going on there. And how this is not being noticed, especially by the super-duper Epstein experts out there, okay, the Twitter experts on Epstein. How come, I don't know if I don't really follow these people anymore. But how come this is not front page news? But this is the whole story right there. Trump's being blackmailed in public, okay, over Epstein stuff. Now, there's several theories on what caused the falling out between Trump and Epstein, and this is one of the theories. Another theory is that you'll hear people all the time will say to you, well, did you know? I worked on the Epstein case. Oh, well, did you know that the reason why Mr. Trump broke up his friendship with Epstein because he caught him at Mar-a-Lago hitting on a teenage girl, and then he broke up and he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. Okay, He didn't kick him out of Mar-a-Lago until 2008, a couple of weeks before the conviction, the guilty plea. Okay, the crime took place in 2004. 2006 was the grand jury. Everybody knew in Palm Beach what was going on there. Everybody in Palm Beach down there knew what Epstein was up to. Okay, the kids at the trailer parks all knew about Jeffrey Epstein. The Royal Palms High School, everyone there knew what was going on. So everybody in that little town there knew what was going on except for Donald Trump. Until, okay, when meanwhile in 2006 there's a grand jury hearing where his employee, Virginia Giuffre Roberts, was a victim of Epstein. Okay, but he didn't know. He had no idea. So the story goes that, as soon as Trump found out that one of the teenage girls at Mar-a-Lago, the daughter of a parent there, was being hit on by Epstein, he removed Epstein from the club. Right? Okay. That story was made up by James Patterson. He's the source of that story. The $400 million. The guy made $90 million in 1 year writing a book. I don't know. This guy must write some really good books. I don't know what's going on there. But he lives down there in Palm Beach, too, and he's a member of Mar-a-Lago. And he's the origin of that story. That story about that he got kicked out of Mar-a-Lago because he was sitting with a teenage girl. Okay. Number one, if there was any validity to that story, whoever that teenage girl is, okay, she's an adult now, she could be an instant celebrity, an instant superstar, an instant Twitter expert on the Epstein, an authority on everything Jeffrey Epstein, on every show. All she has to do is come forward and say, yeah, I'm the girl. Where is she? Why hasn't she come public? Okay, it would be too embarrassing. Are you kidding me? People make a living off of this. People have less connection to her than her. Make a full-time living off of this nonsense. Just make up the bull crap as they go along. But the source of that story is Mr. James Patterson. So when someone comes to you and says, Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he was hitting on this teenage girl, I say to them, then you got that from James Patterson. Do you subscribe to everything James Patterson says? Because James Patterson co-authored a book with Bill Clinton, and James Patterson gives a pass to Clinton, too. It says that Clinton had nothing to do with Epstein as far as sexual contact. Okay? So you can't have it both ways. You can't say you believe that story and then go on and on about Clinton, the Clintons and Epstein. You can't have both. But what I think is the actual reason for their falling out was the story. I first heard it from Epstein would have a party, like a luncheon, with a bunch of stand-up comedians. And there was an article online. You could find it. It's missing now. You can't find it anymore, which is typical of how these things work, especially when Trump is involved. Because, catch and kill, he pays people off to be quiet. What do you call it? They asked Epstein, hey, did you ever hang out with Trump? And he says, oh, yeah, we had a falling out over ethics, over a morals issue. Right? Epstein was disgusted by Trump's morals and ethics. And he said it was because, Trump would do this thing where he would hit on his friends' wives. And he would, call up the wife and have the speakerphone there in the office that they could listen in. And he would tell the husband, hey, come down to the Playboy Mansion with me. I got these girls set up for us when you want to come down with me. And the guys would go, yeah. And then Trump would just, after would talk to the wife and say, you see that? He's cheating on you. Why don't you come sleep with me? That's the guy's move, okay? Now, that same exact story is told by a third party, that fellow Wolf, who wrote the book Fire and Fury, who was best friends. He knew Epstein. He flew on Epstein's plane. He had dinner at Epstein's house and was very close friends with Steve Bannon, who also knew Epstein going way back to Wall Street. And Bannon also, too, came out in public during that Roy Moore election and endorsed my lawsuit, my Jane Katie Doe lawsuit against Trump and Epstein raping my 13-year-old client when she was 13 years old. So that seems to be the most reliable version of events. That Epstein didn't like the way Trump behaved around his friends, his married friends' wives. So, oh God, I'm out of breath. So that seems to be what's going on this week with this negotiation there. Okay. You'd think this would be at least discussed a little bit. I think I'm the only one talking about it. But that's so nothing new, right? I came out a couple of weeks back and I said, hey, I agreed to write the book about the Epstein network on the Epstein case. And I said, I'm going to name names and tell you what I know, okay? And I'm talking about people down in the Virgin Islands and stuff, people involved. I'm talking about that I'm going to name their names. But people think I'm going to talk about YouTubers and stuff, It's just hysterical. And one guy sends me, he goes, Ed, you could search on his database. I'm going to send you, right? I'm telling you stuff that I know firsthand. I don't need to search for it. I might have trouble remembering some things. But I'm going to tell what happened, what I know, okay? For real, for once and for all. So we'll get all that crap out of the way. So that's all this thing with Dmitry, Rybolovlev, and James Patterson and Marco Rubio and the oligarchs. They're cutting up good old Ukraine. P. Diddy's lawyer resigned just last night in a huff, okay? And his statement to the courts, because when you have to file a notice of withdrawal to the court. If you're an attorney, you can't just quit a case. You're on your own. Okay, you got to go to the court and withdraw, officially withdraw from the case. You got to give them a reason, right? This doesn't look good. Okay, this is Anthony Rico. Okay, under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as counsel for Sean Combs. Where's the rest of it? It's down here. Rico made it clear in the court document that even though he was provided Sean Combs with the high level of legal representation expected by the court, under no circumstances could he continue to, quote, effectively serve as counsel for Sean Combs consistent with the ABA, the American Bar Association, standards for criminal justice. So what he's saying there, and very cleverly worded, is if I'm going to maintain my standards under the American Bar Association, if I'm going to practice law in an ethical manner, okay, I cannot be associated with this defense. So Sean and whoever else, man, is out there doing some stuff that this lawyer is concerned enough that he says, hey, I want no part of this, man. Which is probably the smart move. Okay, it could be, man, maybe Sean is talking about the ratting out Trump. Because we got those pictures, man. Diddy was so close with Ivana Trump. Okay, she's hanging all over him at one of these parties. She actually has his necklace. He's wearing a necklace with a medallion around his neck, and she's hanging on him, and she has his necklace in her mouth. Okay, and then there's also pictures of him hugging up on Ivanka, and with canoodling, and then literally hundreds of pictures with Trump. Okay, and all different kind of parties and events and all kind of stuff. So, and then there's that video from The Apprentice where Trump says he loves Diddy, and Diddy's a close friend. He's going to defend Diddy. So, good. Maybe that's it. Maybe this guy's bowing out now because he knows that Sean is going to, P. Diddy here is going to rat out Trump, bring him in. Or, Diddy could be threatening people and paying off witnesses. We hear that's going on. And he wants no part of it because, there's the federal, going up against the federal government here. They don't take kindly to that kind of behavior in their courtrooms with their witnesses and stuff and their evidence and things like that. So that could be it. A little out of breath. Sorry, guys. A little out of breath. Getting a little old there. Let's see here. Oh, boy. One of the things, with this Gene Fence here with the soft citizen situation thing, one of the things we were talking about was how, because he's written a couple of books about Trump too, okay? And we were talking about how the sovereign citizen people are like Trump followers because they're so detached from reality. They're just detached from reality. And then I just started cracking up laughing out loud because now these Trump fans, they think that they're going to get like a $5,000 refund check or dividend check from all the fraud and waste and abuse that's been uncovered by Elon Musk. Okay. The theory is that Musk is sending these kids, they're like 19 years old, into the different Treasury and Social Security and all these things like that, and they're finding all this fraud, waste, and abuse, right? Well, the first problem is, and people are just accepting this at face value. We found $30 million. We found $8 billion of fraud. We're saving this. We're saving that all over the place. There's not a single documented report of any of this. These are tweets. Okay, these are memes. There is not a single prepared document or report or exhibit that will establish any of this. Now, I happen to know a little bit about asset searches and forensic accounting and this type of stuff, okay? I've never, that's not my field, okay? Asset searches, I still do asset searches. A lot of private investigators don't want to touch them anymore because there's a lot of gray areas with them. But I still do them 100% lawfully, okay? I've also been involved in cases where I worked in cooperation with a forensic accounting, okay? Divorce cases, fraud cases, and stuff like that, embezzlement cases, you'll do forensic accounting. All right, so now, in order to establish some kind of a crime or some kind of fraud, and you're using computer data, you have to start off by taking an image of that computer database, of the computer information. You can't just go in there and start changing things around and fiddling with things in there. You have to have an image of what it was before you tampered with anything, okay? There's like chain of custody evidence, okay, that you could use. So just to walk into the Treasury Department and to take this image would take a week. Okay, it would take a week, at the least. All right? And then there's also, you have to have a chain of custody of where your evidence came from that you're going to be putting in your report. Okay? So there's a lot of time involved in all this. There's a lot of effort, a lot of people involved in all this. And then you have to actually put together a report. You cite laws and case law, and you present exhibits, in your report at the end. And then you have something. You have an actual report. In this, we have nothing. We have nothing but a bunch of tweets and memes. There's nothing here. And already they're talking about how they're going to cut up the money. They haven't even proved that a penny has been misappropriated here. Not a penny. Okay, and half the stuff they're talking about they got wrong. The condoms in Gaza, all this stuff. They getting half of this stuff they're getting wrong. There's just rambling things, like a bunch of frat boys and I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do anymore. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Let's see how we're doing on time. Oh, wait. I got some stuff. Wait. Okay. I thought I had my headphones on backwards. In the small world department. Okay. I don't know if you caught this last week. It was during the week when I wasn't on the air. Kevin Blatt, our previous guest. He's been a guest on the show twice, and I repeated those 2 interviews with him this week. Because it turns out that he was part of a deal to broker a sex tape of Kanye West with a porn star. And so when Kanye West started doing all this stuff about being a Nazi and all that stuff, selling that shirt with the swastika on it, Kevin Blatt, even though he signed an NDA and basically worked for Kanye to silence this tape, posted a screenshot of it on his Twitter, his Instagram, and then started selling shirts, F you Kanye, on his website. So it's kind of a big thing all over the news last week, and just happened to be like a friend of the show there, Kevin Blatt, who, by the way, the first time he was on our show, he talked about that a videotape of Trump slapping Melania on an elevator. That's and I've since heard that story confirmed by third parties that weren't even Blatt. And what the deal was with that, Blatt knew about the tape, and the woman was going to sell the tape to TMZ for $3 million, and then cancel the appointment that afternoon. She sold it to somebody else. So that'll go the same thing down the line there with what happened to that story about Epstein, his motive for the breakup of the friendship between Trump and Epstein. How that story disappeared too, which happens, man, like galore with this bunch. One of the things that people always say to me is, well, if that were true, that would be all over the news. And I explained to him, I says, look, it's here. It's in a story, the John Tino story. It's here in this book, All the President's Women. The story's in the book. And then when I bring the 2 co-authors on the show and I ask them to talk about the John Tino story, they don't want to talk about it. Because even though it's published, then there's another deal at the end. Some breaking news today is Steve Bannon did a Nazi salute today. Did you know? Did you hear about that? Okay. And at some CPAC event or something like that, up on the stage, he did a Nazi salute. And Bannon's been coming out too, talking against Musk, saying how we can't trust these oligarchs, and we can use them for now, but they're going to abandon us later on with things. It's not, which is true. Musk is out for himself, and there's something wrong with that guy, man. There's something wrong with him. The latest woman he had that baby with, he's not returning her calls. Or there's something, the baby's sick or something. He doesn't even call her up. What's going on with this guy, man? Musk, and people worship these guys, man. They just worship them. It just makes no sense. So that's some new developments that came out today. Steve Bannon, and then just today, Nazi salute. Yeah. That's not even a big deal anymore. Just Nazi salute. Got another one there. Oh, look! Here's a picture of people waving. It's the same thing, Oh my God, it's just crazy. One thing that I'd like to pat myself on the back for. You might remember a couple of years ago, I became fascinated with those predator catchers on YouTube. These guys who they go online and they lure these perverts into a meeting, and then they confront them on camera, and then they try and get them arrested. So when I started seeing these things years ago, I was contacting all these hosts and the main people who are running these channels. I had one on the show, Tommy Fellows from Colorado Pet Patrol, and I started advising them on how to put together a report to use in court, for the prosecutor and stuff like that, a prosecution-ready report. And after all these years of screaming my head off about this to all these different people, finally, I can see the signs now that they finally are taking up my advice here, and they're putting together these reports in the proper way. And it's one guy, and I had one of his, I don't want to get into too much detail. Okay. But, I don't even want to get into it. But finally, thank God, I made an impact in that field of endeavor there, and these guys are finally putting their reports down in a proper putting together a proper report for the police and for prosecutors to use to actually get arrests and convictions in these cases. God, but it was like pulling teeth because so often you deal with the people and their egos, trying to deal with their egos, man, you know? They just got to maneuver your way through all that, man. It's just crazy stuff. I had a thing, I heard something crazy happen this week, man. I had to review a deposition. I know that. I forget what it was. I had some kind of crazy thing happen this week, work-wise. I almost forgot. One of the things me and AJ were talking about this week was, remember Ruth Payne, who was the landlady that rented the room to Lee Harvey Oswald and Maureen Oswald? Did an interview with Max Good, who interviewed Ruth Payne for this documentary. And it came out really, really good. He got some really good stuff out of Ruth Payne. We find out, too, that she later on was like traveling to Nicaragua and stuff like that. Some kind of CIA job. But AJ got a hold somehow of some film that was in Ruth Payne's garage, and he had it developed. And he has a picture there of who he thinks is Jerry Hemming, who was this CIA hitman, private investigator from Miami, who knew all the three tramps and stuff like that, and all this crazy stuff going on down there in Miami in this guy's office. And so all those pictures that AJ sent me are, I'll put them up on Patreon too, but right now they're up on my Facebook. You can find them. He has pictures of the tramps, the evidence sheet of the film, and then he has pictures of the Jerry, because there's a picture of Jerry Hemming in Ruth Payne's garage. And if you look at the picture of whatever, she's got the picture of these guys down in Subic Bay, the Philippines. Okay, and they're holding a guy by the neck with a garrote, you know. And so whatever, that's damning enough. Then it's a picture that looks very, very similar to Jerry Hemming. So, and there's a great interview with AJ I did about that book called Jerry Did It, Gerry Did It. I don't know if we can find this stuff anymore. The guy I was interviewing today was telling me that when he Googles my name, he can't even find the show anymore. Okay. It's going to make me disappear before you know it, right before your eyes, man. I'll be gone. I'll be out of here. I'm out of my misery, though, man. Really put me out of my misery, man. Oh, God. It's just, I'm just struggling with so much stuff these days, man. It's not even funny. Ah, boy. Let's see if anything good going on here. Oh, man. All right, looks like that's about it. I'll play some music if I come up with something else to talk to you about after the music plays. I'll come back after the song, the outro song, the goodbye song that we play at the end of the show. So let's play that, and then if I can think of something else, I'll pop back on. Where is this thing here?
We would like to introduce to you Janice Ian.
Meant for beauty queens and high school girls with clear skin smiles, married young and then retired. The Valentines I never knew, the Friday night charades of youth were spent on one more beautiful. At 17 I learned the truth. And those of us with ravaged faces, lacking in the social graces, desperately remained at home, inventing lovers on the phone, who called to say, come dance with me, and murmured fake obscenities. It isn't all it seems at 17. A brown-eyed girl in hand-me-downs, whose name I never could pronounce, said, pity please the one they only get what they deserve. And the rich relation hometown queen marries into what she needs with a guarantee of company and haven for the elderly. Remember those who win the game, lose the love they sought to gain, and dare the measures of quality and dubious integrity. The small town eyes will gape at you in dull surprise when payment due exceeds accounts received at 17. To those of us who knew the pain of Valentines that never came, and those whose names were never called when choosing sides for basketball, you must long ago and far away. The world was younger than today, and dreams were all they gave for free to ugly duckling girls like me. We all play the game when we dare to cheat ourselves at solitaire, inventing lovers on the phone, repenting of the lives unknown. They call and say, come dance with me, and murmur vague obscenities at ugly girls like me at 17.
All right, guys, I'm going to head out. Okay. Another week in the can. Another, whatever you call. So the highlights when I show those that Dmitry guy. All right, no one's talking about that. And then this whole thing about this Doge saving you money is just such bogus crap. There's not a single shred of evidence of anything, not a single report, not a single statement, nothing. Just imaginary stuff in your head. And people just take it as fact. And then we got Russians blackmailing Trump right in front of our faces. You know, some guy came out on Facebook last night, some former Russian KGB guy, said that Donald Trump was recruited by KGB with codename Krasnov, claims ex-Soviet spy. I just retweeted that or shared it on my Facebook. You can go check that out too. Plus all those pictures too. AJ sent me a lot of good stuff there. Great tape and great content this week, man. I'm really looking forward to this, man. I still got to get a hold of that Michael Jackson guy. Remind him. And then I got Lambert coming back, FBI director of Anthrax. And then Todd Killings, I got that guy. Taping with him tomorrow. So busy week. All right, guys, good night. Thank you so much for joining our show again. Another week in the can. This week went so fast. It feels like I was just talking to you yesterday. You know? Anyway. Thanks for sticking with me all these years, guys. You know, putting up with me. It's been a pleasure.